from Japan, but he felt a strong love for this country, and he felt that we had a duty to participate in community activities. And you know, after the war, when people were coming out of the camps, they had nothing. But he'd go around collecting $1 or $2. Those are the days when you can go to a political dinner for $25. The good old days. But in any event, it was that kind of beginning that allowed a number of us in Santa Clara County to get exposure to the majority community. And this is something that all of you are doing today. And this is something that we have to continue doing, encouraging young people to do this, younger people coming along, to encourage them in community activities. A lot of us stand on the shoulders of those who have gone ahead of us. Whether it was people in the military who, through valor and their conduct, had a great record. People who were in professions, doing their job well, and getting to show the majority community what integrity, hard work, dedication can do. And all of you are now picking up on that same kind of thrust, because that, I think, really is why we have a cabinet today with 3 outstanding Asian Pacific Americans. It wasn't because somebody said, well, we got to have one of them, or 2 of those, or 3 of them, or whatever. These people were able to get to the top through their hard work and dedication. The one that really, they all deserve where they are. And if you don't mind, my co-chair of the AOF and founder of AOF is Gary Locke. But I want to just talk about Rick Shinseki, if I might, for a minute. Because here's a person who was about to have been discharged after his service in Vietnam. He had a shattered leg, ankle area, and he insisted he wanted to stay in the Army, kept on appealing the medical decision saying discharge him, and he succeeded in those appeals and got up to be the #1 position in the Army as the Army Chief of Staff. And then he was testifying before the United States Senate one day. Someone asked him, we're going to Iraq, how many troops should we have? And we were discharging or deploying at that time 121,000 troops. And he said, at least 250,000. Well, that just corked off Don Rumsfeld, Paul Wolfowitz, and it wasn't too long after that, 14 months before General Shinseki's term as Army Chief of Staff was ending, that they've already named his replacement. I mean, you talk about pulling the rug out from under you. They're already announcing the replacement. And then when he was retiring and had his retirement parade, Rumsfeld wasn't there, Wolfowitz wasn't there, General Myers, the Army, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, wasn't there, Pete Pace, General Pace of the Marine Corps, was not there. And it was a total insult to General Shinseki that they weren't there after his 37 years of service to this great country. And so I love it. President Obama picked Rick to be the Secretary of Veterans Affairs. Last summer, my wife Denny and I were having dinner with Rick and Patty, and about 2 weeks before that, I happened to see General Carl Buono, who was the Army Chief of Staff before Rick. And I said, "Hey, Carl, Denny and I are going to have dinner with Rick and Patty." Tell him he lied. Tell him he lied? Tell him he should have said 400,000. So we're having dinner that night, and you know, you don't want to start the conversation with that. An hour into the dinner, I said, "Hey, incidentally, Rick, I saw Carl Buono the other day, and he said to say hello to you." "Really?" And he also told me one other thing. He also told me to tell you lied. And at that point, Rick's face sort of tightened up. And then I said, "He said you should have said 400,000. And then that big smile came across. But there are three very outstanding individuals: Steve Chu at Energy, Rick Shinseki at Veterans Affairs, and now Gary Locke as Secretary Designate of Commerce. And so it's as a result of all of you, and I'm really touched that all of you are here, so many of you. Of course, not as touched as all of you have been. But in any event, we really appreciate the funds that are being raised tonight. Our first candidate that we wrote a check to was John. The AOF's effort is to support progressive candidates and to who are seeking national or statewide office. And so what we're trying to say is, look, there are a lot of candidates who, even if they're not Asian Pacific American, are very much supportive of the kinds of fulfilling the hopes, wants, and aspirations of those who are Asian Pacific Americans. And so it is very important that we join together in this manner. And the other night I saw Mike